Good day, and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the performance of the Build of the Week team, which in this case is the Future Saga team in Red Zone. And specifically speaking, we're going to be taking a look at the Red Zone for Sin Shenron, or Omega Shenron I should say, because that's his final phase. Now, the Sin Shenron stage is pretty interesting. The first bit's actually quite powerful, like it's quite tough. Not only does he lower attack and defense, but he also can just cause you some problems by locking you in place. So it's a pretty tough stage, especially when you have teams that require building up attack and defense. It can be quite rough. From then on, it gets stronger in terms of offense, but it does tend to taper off a bit. They lose a lot of the mechanics. Which does somewhat help you out. Like, it does make things a little bit easier, because it is always easier to deal, well, not deal, I should say, with mechanics. Like, dealing with mechanics is always possibly the hardest component of dealing with a red zone, or like any stage in general, realistically speaking. It is just a difficult concept to have to deal with stages. Like, it's not always a lot of fun. To deal with mechanics is not always a lot of fun. Like, it is just difficult, but of course it's not the absolute end of the world, and it is still a great kind of event, and a lot of fun. Now, the Future Saga team is pretty strong. I do like it a lot. I've used a couple of different units, and showcasing Trunks and Mai a little bit here, which I think is a lot of fun for me. I personally like Trunks and Mai a lot, so of course they're always going to be fun for me to take a look at, which I think is great. And then you obviously also have the, like, how can I say, the pretty strong units like LR, Vegeta and Trunks, who are obviously fantastic. We have AGL transforming Super Saiyan Trunks, who's also really cool. We have the LR Future Trunks and Gohan. So we just have a lot of pretty decent units who I think are really solid. Now, of course, we'll talk about all of them in a little bit more detail, but there are stronger options. A great example is LR Merge Texamasu. Fantastic unit, especially once you let them get hits a bit. Very, very strong. Then we take a look at Tech LR Rose and Zamasu, and then Int LR Merged Zamasu. So in that case, we have some really strong units that we're not running in the team, who are also really, really good. And we also have like Strength Rose, who's really solid. I don't have the Int Future Gohan, who's also a pretty solid unit as well. So yeah, and there's also other options like LR Physical Trunks, who's really, really good, but just needs, like, for example, a little bit of like a push. Like, he just needs a tiny little push with dupes to be really solid. So yeah, I think there's plenty of great options on the team. I love running the team. It's my favorite team in the game. Some of you may know, because obviously Trunks is my favorite unit in the game, or character in the game, I should say. So there is a lot of really good, really fun, interesting units. And yeah, I think in general people should at least enjoy the team. At least I enjoy the team. I can't guarantee you enjoy the team, but I definitely enjoy the team. Now, obviously, to look at the team in a bit more detail, I think the team is pretty capable of beating any event in the game, with LR, Vegeta and Trunks as their backbone. LR, Vegeta and Trunks are just, an exceptional unit, super strong defensively, which I think you can't really underestimate. I think it's a fantastic unit. And then, they just get stronger and stronger with their defense and everything. Offensively, maybe not the strongest unit. They hit some decent attack stats, and they do obviously have a decent crit chance, but I would say that's about it. They don't really have insane offensive capabilities. It's not like they can completely pop off, which is fine. you know, it's not the end of the world, but it is the case. You know, they can't necessarily pop off for like 15, 16 million. They just don't have the capacity, but they can do, you know, 6 million attack stats that have like a 35% chance to crit or 40% chance to crit or whatever it is. So that's pretty good. Alongside them, we just have some pretty decent units. AGL transforming Super Saiyan Trunks is good. He needs a couple dupes to be able to really be a red zone, like a solid red zone unit. And he can still be a tiny bit dependent on RNG, which you'll see a bit later. Like, we do struggle a little bit because of a lack of RNG with him when it comes to super attacks, especially if you want to transform him to his Super Saiyan state. So if you want to do that, it is a tiny bit inconsistent. But yeah, beyond that, fantastic unit and provides a lot to the team. So that's always really, really good. And he is, you know, solid. The physical Future Gohan is really good in this stage. The second phase against the strength, Sin Shenron is quite challenging for him, obviously, of course, because he is physical type. But once his damage reduction starts to kick in, he really is quite fine. Like, he tends to do quite well. So, like, I do want to point that out, that he is, quite solid once he gets going. It's just that he takes a little bit of time. The AGL, LR Future Gohan and Future Trunks, I think is a really, really good unit, and honestly just does a fantastic job. The only thing with AGL, AGL like Trunks and Gohan, is honestly just that at the end of the day, you need dupes in them as well. Like, quite a few of these units are good, but you need dupes in them. Like, I would say you probably want to dupe in AGL, LR, Future Trunks and Gohan. You probably want dupes in the physical Future Gohan, definitely. AGL transforming Trunks, you probably also want dupes as well. So it isn't like a team that can be run at 55% and have massive potential. You need a couple dupes, but it's still a really fun team for me, and I enjoy it a lot. Now, again, we're obviously running a super variant of the team, so mainly, well, in fact, obviously in this case, all super units. But you can run quite a few strong, like very strong extreme units. You have, for example, the Tech Merge Zamasu, Tech Rose Zamasu, Rose and Zamasu, who's very, very good. And then you also have the Int Merge Zamasu, who's also quite solid. And then you also have the Strength Rose, who's really quite good as well. So you do have a lot of options. Like, you have a lot of really good units. So I think in general, you kind of need to work around that. You can meld the two, 17 and 18 as well. Really good, really fantastic units, and you can kind of meld the whole bunch of them together. Realistically speaking, you can stick them all together and you should be able to make it work. Obviously, there is going to be some difficulty, but I think in general, you should be able to make the teams work quite well, at least for me. Obviously, I would say the team can do most red zones. It's nice to mix it with time travelers or with bond the parent and child. In the case of obviously running the Vegeta and Trunks, like it is nice to run the various units all together and to run the cross-faction units. Like, it does supplement the category quite well. But yeah, I would say beyond dupes, the team is still very, very solid. It's a really fun, really good team. It's got a lot of good utility. Revive skills, for example, super great in the case of this team. You've got revive skills, you've got some really, really solid, really strong, just raw stat units like Tech, Zamasu and Rose, Vegeta and Trunks. You've got solid options. You just have to kind of bring the whole shindig together, and then the units will speak for themselves. The units will do a good job. I think you will be pleasantly surprised by any of the units that you see. Like I think you'll be relatively happy with all of their performance. I don't think a single one of these units is bad, but I do think they need it. Like AGL Trunks got way better with the dupe, like quite substantially, because of how you can build them, how that changes the hit pro system, you know, how that just changes a lot. Like it does change a lot of how he functions, and I think that's something you can't, you know, not underestimate, but you know, it's something that's valuable. It really is something that's quite good and quite important. So, yeah, overall, I would say it's really quite a good situation to be in. Beyond that, relatively straightforward stuff. You know, team's great. It will struggle a little bit. Like you only have a couple units that can tank the Sin Shenron super attack. You're gonna rely a little bit on evasion, or you're gonna rely, you know, on using the revive skill. But you should be able to get it done. Like I said, it's a pretty fun category. It is a little bit RNG and dupe dependent though. Like you're gonna see Trunks now. Yeah, he's gonna take a lot of damage because, you know, he doesn't proc that additional super. Now if he procs that additional super, we're fine. We're all good to go. If he doesn't proc that additional super, yeah, you end up in a bad situation like we are. So, or we lose, basically, to cut a long story short. But yeah, in reality, the team is good. Just needs that little push. Just needs that little kind of nudge with some dupes and all of that. But that's talking strictly Future Saga. You can mix and match. Also, we could easily throw in the extreme units here, and we'd be having a really good time, like a really solid time. So yeah, there's plenty of options. Like a great example is Android 17 and 18. They actually can just nullify Shenron's ult, which is crazy. But yeah, overall, really fun team, cool to run, and I'll see you guys next time. Till then, bye.